Thank you, Jackie. This is the final speech at the final meeting of Socialism 2008. And I know there are a few people here who've come along particularly for this campaign for the New Workers' Party hosted rally. But most of you have been at the whole weekend. It's been jam-packed with discussion and debate on different political ideas, and probably some of you would say a little bit too jam-packed. I was asking people as you do what you thought of the rally last night. Everybody said they thought it was excellent, that every speaker was great, and everybody said that perhaps it was just a little bit too long, 2 hours and 50 minutes. So I am going to do my best now to make myself popular and to stick to time so that we can finish this rally a little bit and I think it's been an excellent forum that we've had, even without Mark Sobotka speaking, on the question of independent political representation. And there's also been a high degree of agreement, certainly on this central question, which is that the need for the working class to have its own political voice is urgent. It's not a new issue. After all, if you look around at politics in Britain in the last 10 or 15 years, all of our experience is that the population is far to the left of any of the major political parties, being against privatisation, in favour of public services, thinking the gap between the rich and poor is too great. They all agree with us on those issues, not with Tories, New Labour or the Liberals. But at the same time, it's also been our experience, and Mark referred to this, that there's a mood, well, can you really change anything? Particularly given the role of the right-wing trade union leaders. And we stand campaigning on a Saturday against cuts in the health service, against privatisation, and people flock up saying, you're right, good on you, have a pound, I'll take your paper. But when you say to them, would you like to get actively involved in helping us? The response of not all, but the majority is, good on you, I wish you luck, but we're not really sure it's going to work, and therefore perhaps we won't get active at this point in time. What's taken place in the last few weeks is the real beginning of a change in that situation. I don't want to go over the points about the economic crisis, but I don't think you can underestimate the profound effects that that has had on the consciousness and the outlook of working class people in this country. When you get £400 billion being pumped in to underwrite the entire banking system, you then get Di Davis, the Glenelg-Gwent People's Voice MP, raising in Parliament, well, shouldn't we have these banks that we control? Shouldn't the housing that they repossess be used for social housing? And the government replies by saying, these banks are run at arm's length by the government on commercial principles. In other words, our money, taxpayers' money, on an absolutely vast scale, underwriting a banking system, and they can continue to do whatever they like. Meanwhile, for us, we have to pay the moral hazard. The average person in this country is £33,000 in debt, because that's what we've had to do to get by over the last 16 years. And that money is not going to be written off by the banks, even if we are thrown out on the coals, unable to afford to pay our mortgages, losing our jobs and so on. I don't want to give loads more agitational points, but I would just add on the question of public sector pay. To meet the public sector pay demands of every single public sector worker in this country would cost less than £5 billion. And yet, workers have been told they've got no choice but to accept what is in effect a pay cut. While for all of us, public and private sector workers, the reality is that in the last year, the Daily Mirror estimated this, the amount that it costs to stay alive has gone up for a family by £1,200. So even if your wages kept pace with inflation, the reality is that you're £1,200 worse off. So that's what life in Britain means for working class people at the moment. Now the points that I've just made, and every other speaker on this platform has made along similar lines, they're not rocket science, are they? And if we had a mass or a semi-mass party in this country that had representation in Parliament, more importantly, that was able to organise in every community, every housing estate around the country, in every workplace, and was making the point that we've all made, that was saying, well, you've put banks, why can't we run the banks? Why can't they be run by the working class in our interests? That we're saying we will not accept a single repossession. Those ideas would spread like wildfire. Those socialist ideas, that party would gain support extremely quickly. And I agree with the points that have been made about the US and Obama. The Democrats are a big business party. Obama received a great deal of funding from ordinary working class people, but also from big business on an unprecedented scale. That's true. But at the same time, in those millions of workers who stood and queued, sometimes for 8 hours, to go and vote for Obama, represented a real desire for change, and it was inspiring. And it does show the possibility for development of an independent party of the working class in the future in the US as well. So the need for the party that we all want is absolutely clear. I would just add one point. There are no guarantees in this life. It is not in some way automatic that because capitalism is in crisis, socialists will be the ones who gain. That's not automatic, we have to work for it. And there's a danger, particularly given the absence of a new party for the working class at this point in time, that at least initially it could be the far right, the British National Party, that make gains on the back of the vacuum that exists by falsely posing as a party of the white working class. And so we've launched the Campaign for a New Workers' Party, as Dave has said, to work together with all of those who want to see a new party. The Campaign for a New Workers' Party doesn't have a programme. You don't have to agree with what the Socialist Party thinks about this, that and the other. All you have to agree about is that the working class needs its own party and we should set about trying to create it. And that's the idea, to unite together in order to bring such a party into existence. Now, having said that, I wouldn't say that the differences between us don't matter. As I had a debate with the Socialist Workers' Party for 2 hours earlier this morning, I can hardly say that I think the differences don't matter. I think, in fact, for this question of the foundation of a new party, it's very important that the lessons of the last decade or so are learned. After all, one of the things that makes it more difficult for us is that previous projects have not succeeded. The top-down centralising approach, in our opinion, from the Socialist Labour Party, then with the role of the Socialist Workers' Party in the Socialist Alliance and later in Respect, meant that those projects didn't take off, and that's an obstacle. So we need to make sure that next time we do it right, that we do learn the lessons. If a new party is going to attract those young people who are cautious about socialism, who are not sure that socialism isn't something bureaucratic and nasty, then we have to make sure it's vital, the kind of people that Mark was talking about,